Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Wargame. I previewed this replay sent in by TheHelmetHead and I repeatedly went, what the fuck? What the hell happened in this match? It's weird. It's really weird. Let's get to it. Igroj left the game. That's one of the players on HelmetHead's team. So he's down to 3 players. It's not quite going to stop there. Because as he wrote in the description, when the game launched, our most experienced player disconnects, and the second most experienced is AFK when the timer is counting down. That, I believe, is Jim. Jim 123789, very creative. He also happens to not deploy units. So this means that we're already down to a 4 versus 2. Now, in the best of situations, that is risky to run. You're going to have to face a lot more of the map than you normally would when you're just focusing on your own little sector, because you're then only focusing on, let's say, your battle space. For example, you're playing an Echo, you're only focusing on Echo, and you don't have to also look what the hell's going on in Charlie and potentially do some urban warfare over there. If it's a 2v2, or a 2v4 rather, you're suddenly having to cover a lot more of the map. Now, Shooter 16 surrenders. That is another player. So he's now down to, in effect, a 1 versus 4. Because Jim is still AFK and Jim is still not deploying units. So he is playing with, as he wrote, a deck that was built for tacticals, an armored deck, and he's facing off against enemies where you would not really ideally be an armored deck, because the town over here requires a lot of infantry. This area over here is perfect for vehicles, motorized, but Charlie again does not really favor armored vehicles. To his credit, TheHelmetHead is sticking it out. He is still here, and he is not letting up. He might not have enough units. He might not have enough, let's say, attention to cover the whole map. But the amount of mishaps and lack of pushing that blue fort does is actually going to be his saving grace. Now, his deployment early on, you saw a couple of vehicles just shift over from here to there. He's banking very heavily on making a push on the far right flank. And this was my first what the fuck when I was looking at it. Normally, you see a column of units go here, you see armored units go here, and you see, let's say, motorized or mechanized go left to cover the town. He has nothing. The only thing covering this area is 2 ZTZ-85-3s. Sure enough, they are the heaviest tanks that the Chinese can offer, and his Chinese-North Korean alliance is going to be capable of fielding pretty much nothing. Oh, actually, no, that's not entirely true. He also has a T-90S here. That's arguably a little better than the ZTZ-85s. So, he's leading with his CV, of all things. Leading with his CV. Unfortunately, his column immediately comes under attack, but blue slightly overestimates the position where red 4 would have gotten, or rather underestimates it, and the vehicles all escape unharmed. However, let's check how good the Blue Force air defenses are. Because we got a couple of Z9As, HQ or HJ8s over here. And these are very interesting to start hunting down enemy artillery. Now, something else that really caught me off guard is that whereas Red 4 is not sending anything towards the middle and the left, Blue 4 is not sending anything to Blue 4's left. So Blue 4 is maybe thinking, you know what, we're going to charge right through the middle with all of these units, and we'll just get there. We're just gonna charge right into Alpha here. Well, no you're not. Sure enough, they have quite a decent amount of vehicles. They got the MX-10Ps, MX-13s, transports, mortar for fire support, Weasel 102. Congratulations, you're never going to reach the front line. Flak Panzers, 2 hull reconnaissance Leopards. Where are your tanks? And don't tell me Chieftain Mark 11s are tanks. I mean, sure, they are tanks, but I wouldn't really want to be pushing with a Chieftain Mark 11, let alone go off-road. Where is their Leopard 2A5? Where's their Leclerc? Where is their, I don't know, M1 Abrams? Now, he has spotted weakness over on the right flank, Helmet Head. And he is immediately wiping out all the mortars. Unfortunately, that also puts down all of his ATGMs. And finally, Bluefer thinks, oh, you know what? Maybe we should spawn some anti-air defenses over here. Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of a problem. So, by the time that the HJH are actually retreating, because they are out of ammo, that's when the Roland comes in. Too little, too late. Now, normally, again, this town is busy. You got infantry on infantry meat grinder going on here. This time around, nothing. So the Zanshi get offloaded. And I wouldn't be surprised if Helmet Head is going, okay, where's the enemy? And he's already sort of scouted the enemy with the Z9As. So he knows that they're not there. And as such, he's just going to pack up the infantry. Actually, no, he's not going to pack up the infantry. He's going to make the infantry set up a defensive line here. And he's going to use his ZSD-90s and all of his armored units to try and push through. In the meanwhile, Blue is about to arrive in Bravo. And all of these blue units, they're just going to drop off their infantry here. Which, well, I can't quite figure out why. Because you're not facing anything exceptionally powerful. Sure, an armored deck is annoying. But you're going to have to play the game a bit different if you're doing a 4v1. You're going to have to try a different tactic. Because you simply cannot manage, let alone micromanage all the units in Bravo as you're trying to push. You won't have the attention for it. You won't have the time for it. So instead of pushing, the infantry is dropping off. They got their HEGM Milan teams here. They got the reconnaissance. There's a Kiowa warrior pushing through. And unfortunately, it does happen to spot both of the ZTZ-85s. And the Helmet Head does have anti-air, but is not quite in range yet. MiG-23 MLs are. And they immediately wipe out the Kiowa warrior. This is something else that I don't get about Blue. Where's their anti-air? You cannot call one Mistral unit an anti-air unit. Especially against planes, they are not that good. Something else that really caught me off guard here. Your ally, and I'm talking to Maga over here, your ally is already in Bravo. What are you still doing in Charlie? He has Apache, DAP, and Cobra sitting over there. He has a whole bunch of US Marines with LVTP-7A1s. He even has an M1A1, and he's just not moving. Over here in Hotel, they dropped off 40 Fusiliers. And, well, A, they're quad stacked, and B, why? I don't understand. The Chieftains are rolling across the road, well, across the plains, which is where they are slowest. And, well, they're really not going to be getting anywhere anytime fast. Let's see, where are the... yep, there they are. The Weasel 1 Tow 2. Fantastic little unit if you want to just make sure it doesn't reach the front line. Now, Blue now starts to push with reservists. Yes, with reservists. And Martyr VTS 1s. Right. And he's playing right into the cards of the Red 4 armored deck. This is fantastic. He's even calling in ZTS 63s, which are, well, not fantastic tanks. Sure, they're amphibious, they have a decent ATGM, but against infantry, I would much prefer something that has 4 HE, like a T-72M. And these poor reservists are just being butchered. Now, while he has set up a modicum of defense over here, he's going seriously for offense over here. The T-90 is pushing forward, escorted by ZTZ-85 and the T-72M. There's another T-90S in the back, and there are 2 anti-air units escorting the whole group, because they did try to make a push against them. Where are your own tanks, Blue 4? Where are your ATGM planes? Where is your defense? Where are your helicopters? Sure, helicopters might not be the best option. ATGM infantry is definitely not the best option. Where are your tanks? Seriously. You're playing a 4v1 and you manage to not exactly kill off an enemy column that's going towards your base. There. Neutralize the command unit in Juliet. What the hell did I just watch? And interestingly, now Maga thinks, oh, you know what? Maybe I should be helping out. So now the Super Cobra, the DAP, and the Apache are flying back. So is the Gazelle Hot 2. But these guys should have not tried to do this now. They should have tried to do this when this group was pushing through India. This is such a painful thing for me to watch, because they had this game, Blue 4. They could have very easily pushed in. If these three helos had made their presence known over here, well, good luck. Because the PGZ 895s were over there. And sure enough, they do have decent range against helicopters. 2800 on the gun, 2625 on the Q2, or the QW2, but come on. Fly around, just scout it. And they didn't. Blue 4 just sat there and watched as Red 4 ran in, neutralized Juliet. Now, unfortunately, they didn't bring a CV, but it's pretty much GG at this point. Blue 4, 4 players, they score 540 points. Red 4, 1 player, scores 1655 points. What am I watching? They had this game. Sure enough, their unit deployment over here was a bit questionable. They could have had a few different units, and if I was trying to attack, well, of course, you never know that you're going to get to Bravo. Maybe you hope for it, but initially, if I'm going towards the middle, I'm expecting a slugfest between a battleship, yeah, right, between a couple of tanks. So I would bring probably a Leclerc to a 5, depending on the type of deck this guy's using. And he's just not doing it. They are just not deploying the right units. So, instead of just flaming Blue 4, what should they have done different? Push to contact. Keep going until you run into something that shoots you. Then you figure out what it is that's shooting you, and then you figure out how to kill it. That's pretty much the basics. They're not doing that. They're just deploying their infantry here. Now, credit to them, they're deploying a mix of infantry. You got the Marines and the anti-air. You got a tank sitting out in front, but there's also a severely distinct lack of reconnaissance. They got the Scimitar, they got the Green Jackets here. Over here I saw the Hussar, 2 squads, but they're sitting there. Recon can be a passive job, but I'd prefer to be an active job. Move out with your reconnaissance. Go and look for the enemy. Because you're looking at enemy reconnaissance or enemy units which only have 1 recon unit, and from the ZTQ-62G. Very good optics, good reconnaissance unit, but it's the only thing that is spotting for this whole group. Of course, they don't know that. This is what they can see, Blue 4. They know that there's a whole column of units in Juliet, but they don't really have the means to spot them. This is what HelmetHead can see. He can see the Super Cobra. He can see some units in there. But he doesn't have to push. He doesn't have to recon. All he did was push. So his push is complete. What the hell did I watch? These guys on blue just got schooled on how to get crushed by a 1v4. Which arguably they should have had. They had this guy dead to rights. But compounding mistakes is what loses you the game. So, a few takeaways from this battle. Push to contact. Run into stuff, move up until you hit trouble. You saw that that was exactly what HelmetHead did. He pushed in here. He was probably temporarily quite confused as to why there weren't any units here, and then he thought, okay, if there aren't any units here, I'm going to take up my whole column and I'm going to move. And he pushed right through India, especially with the helicopters taking down the mortars, wiped out the units there, moved on, and just pushed until he met resistance. And the resistance was fairly limited. There was just not enough defending this sector. And I don't get why either. I don't get Blue 4's excuse. They had a warning, let's say about here. they knew that something was going on by the time that they got here. When you see a whole column of units come down here, and you still haven't fielded any tanks, you still haven't fielded any HGM vehicles, or any, let's say, seed planes thrown in with an A-10, then you deserve everything you got. It's... I don't know. And this is why I said at the start of this video, this game had me going, what the fuck, quite a few times. It's so confusing to see what Blue 4 is, or rather is not doing. Let's see what they had on the map and how that could have made a difference. The Marines over here, I don't really see them making a difference anytime soon. Although, if they had just deployed a few squads from here to here, that would have gotten them a bit more information about what was coming along the lines of Echo. If Blue 4 had used their reconnaissance in a better fashion, they could have figured out that, hey, there's not coming anything down the middle. Maybe we need to push, and we need to push harder. If Blue 4 had used the Hussar to actually try and scout out the area, then, well, let's say 1 seed aircraft and 1 A-10 could have done serious damage over here. Maybe you need an Eagle or 2 on patrol behind them to make sure that those MiG-23 MLs don't shoot down your aircraft. The M1A1, decent tank, could have been a better help on the front line, as these guys, these tanks over here, were just picking off the Heimatschützen and the reservists. The warriors down in the middle, not terribly useful. All of these guys over here, Fusiliers. See, you don't need to hold the town if you already have the terrain right in front of it. There is a remote opportunity for Red 4 to just push down here. But if they're going to push down this road, they wouldn't come here. They would go right there, probably. Unless they're trying to really encircle you. But when they're trying to push left, it's very easy for you to just push into their right flank and murder all the tanks and the vehicles, or at least caught them in a very, very dangerous crossfire. But it's just not happening. And Blue 4 is just making all sorts of mistakes, leading to a total score of Blue of 940 versus Red's 2520. I think this game would have been a complete steamroll if all the Red 4 players were here. I would love to see what would have happened then. Or, well, maybe I wouldn't have loved it, because it would have been pretty much a slaughter. Now, at this point, even this late into the battle, they don't make an effort. They're not trying to push forward. They're not trying to push back. I think Blue is just questioning what to do and sitting on their asses. So, a 1v4. HelmetHead. Gains 2660, losses 940. Is a 1v4 doable? Is it always going to play out like this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Or rather, I hope not, because this was weird. Sometimes, however, you might get an opponent that just compounds their mistakes, that does not push, that does not move to contact, and that just sits there as you capture their base. Weird game. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. What other things could Blue have done different in order to make this thing actually work? And a hat tip to HelmetHead. It's easy to just surrender when other people are surrendering. It takes courage to stick it out and to go, you know what? I'm just going to try this. I have a mismatched deck. I'm fighting 4 players alone. But I'm just going to see what happens. And maybe I can drag a good game out of it. Maybe 8 times out of 10 it's not going to work. But the other 2 times you're going to have a really good game. And you're going to be quite proud of yourself. Even though you might need a shower afterwards because of all the excessive sweating from commanding all the units and trying to stick it out against 4 players. HelmetHead, well done. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall catch you guys soon for another one.